Oh, hello there. Thanks for joining me for another rendition of Chapter by Chapter, King of Scars.
It's just really hard to think of intros every time.
Today, we are on Chapter 14. It's a Zoya chapter, and
My God!
did it end in... what the hell is happening? Not even a cliffhanger, it's just like, what's going on? What is life? Are we all dying? Fun stuff. So the group is arriving at their destination. Well, almost. They're at the town that's right outside the fold, which is about where we started with all the drama in the first books. This town is just really sad, and it's just another small, crappy town with a sad history. It's a place for last stops. It's the last place to grab your supplies before you head out to the fold. Last place to grab a drink. Last place to grab a lover before you head into the shadow fold. But there isn't a shadow fold anymore. It's just all this dead, sad sand. So now merchants traveling across Ravka have to hire bodyguards instead of Grisha to protect them from mercenaries instead of flesh-eating monsters. So a lot of things are changing out on the fold, and one of them is the church. The church is now dedicated to
Saint Alina of the Fold.
It actually took Zoya a lot of time to think of Alina as something other than this poorly dressed rival of hers. She used to resent Alina so much. She just seemed like that mean girl that was set up there just to cause problems for Alina to me. Zoya envied her in her position with the Darkling. But at the time, she never understood what all of Alina's power meant and the sacrifices that it took. After the war, Alina chose a life of peace with Mao, and she chose to fake her death and conceal her identity. But with her death and her supposed martyrdom, it just let her legend grow. Zoya's surprised that she really liked seeing Alina's name and picture put up all over Ravka, even when it's said in prayer. Because Ravka gave too much of its love to men like the Darkling and the Aborat and all of these past kings. So they owed Alina some of this love. And though the symbol above the church changed, the walls remained the same. This is the church that had all of the names of the victims of the sister city put on it after the Darkling made Alina use her power to take out the entire town. Zoya's thinking how one day the names will completely fade, that she will be gone, that everyone who remembered these victims will be gone. So who will be left to remember them? And we find out that Liliana was one of the people who died in this tragedy. She knew that her name and her ward's name would be on those walls, and she couldn't bring herself to go and look at them. Even after all this time, she didn't find an end to her grief. She would just be going about her day and remember her name, or she would start to write a letter about her day and realize that she had no one to write it to. So we're starting to get these pieces of Zoya's past, and it's really showing me why she is who she is. So on top of that, to Zoya's dismay, she had a pretty rough night at the boarding house they had to stay at. No more luxury here for Zoya. And this is the day that they might actually find what they need at the Thornwood. But this is Ravka. Things don't really work out here. And there were still matters of state she had to attend to before they even got to go looking for it. Zoya has to deal with what happened with the Kurgud and make sure that Os Alta isn't left unprotected. So after Nikolai spend a lovely little breakfast together, probably wasn't really lovely though if it was at that crappy inn. But anyways, Zoya brings up that a member of the Shu Royal Guard is thinking about defecting. And the
Festival of Autumn nonsense
is going to be the perfect place to talk to them about it. And Zoya's noticing that these times where it's nice and quiet and they're working side by side are just so easy. And she thinks her mind is betraying her for even thinking these thoughts. She's checking Nikolai out and wondering what it'll be like when he's finally married, when he belongs to someone else. So she feels some type of possession over him right now, where she thinks that he's hers in some way. And then they'll lose these moments of peace together. Because it seems like Zoya doesn't really have anyone right now. She lost all of these people to the Darkling that she knew and she was close with and that she loved. And Nikolai is one of the very few people that she has left. And she would still be his general, but these quiet moments would obviously not be the same. And Zoya made men fall in love with her for fun. Don't disbelieve that. So it's crazy to her to even think, I don't know if I could make Nikolai fall in love with me. And it's even crazier that part of her wanted to try. But she is unsure if someone like him, who is full of hope and optimism and light, would love someone like her who was born in a storm. Even if she could make Nikolai fall for her though, she knew that people would never accept a Grisha queen. All over the world, people are still not accepting of Grisha. She knows this from, having to monitor everything. Fjorda and the Shu treat Grisha like garbage, and even the Ravkins have this deep distrust of them. They think they're dangerous, and they would never give up their golden king to someone like Zoya. But she wouldn't have it any other way. She learned the power that comes with fear a long time ago. And Zoya's thoughts of marrying and being with Nikolai are interrupted by the twins knocking on their door. It's time to go. Zoya's pretty upset because they have to yet again travel in really drab disguises. But they need to take this trip slowly, really see what's going on, so they can't have the people being distracted by like Yuri or Nikolai or figuring out who they are. And Yuri is sure that the followers of the Starless Saint are going to be there. They're going to be at the place where the Darkling fell. Zoya's like, oh really? How are they gonna know where that is? Because I didn't see any of them there fighting on the fold. But Tamar has to cut in and say, I've actually heard news that there is this encampment out there. And Yuri has the balls to be like,
told you so.
To Zoya of all people, so not really starting off this journey well. They already had a skiff waiting and ready with 2 young Grisha squallers at the dock. And Zoya notes that it's actually really good practice for young Grisha to come out here because, there's no danger anymore. It's just easy work traveling back and forth, and you get to hone your craft and maybe pick up some other skills like languages and things like that for them to prepare to graduate. And it's hard for Zoya not to think about her early days in the Second Army. The terror that you had during your first crossing when you were just waiting for Volcra to come in and smell you and eat you. She really hates being here. The farther they're going into the fold, the more they're seeing it come alive. It's not just this deserted wasteland anymore. There's altars to saints everywhere, which it's Ravka, that's not a surprise. There's small businesses selling what is supposed to be Alina's bones. There's chapels and restaurants and peddlers everywhere. Zoya comments they've always liked us better dead. No one knows what to do with a living saint. And this kind of has me freaking out because I'm wondering, are the people going to find out that Alina is alive? And what are they going to do with that? Or is someone else going to find out she's alive? And how are they going to feel about that information? And speaking of Alina, I didn't even realize where their last stop was supposed to be. It's the orphanage that Mal and Alina run together now. So they're just sending like a wagon and a fake party to go there to make it look like the king is still making it to his last stop on his tour. And Zoya's like, yes, the couple that runs the orphanage can be trusted with our secrets. And I was like,
Oh, it's Alina and Mal.
I wanted to see them so bad, and this made me so disappointed that they didn't make it there. But I'm hoping they make it there after maybe visiting the fold or at some time. And then they spy the miracle.
Or at least Yuri calls it a miracle.
It looks like a body of water, but as they're getting closer, it's this mile-long round stone that's shiny like glass. And there are no signs of the Sun Saint here. Instead, there's this village set up with tents and people bearing the banner of the Darkling. Yuri says that this is the place where the Starless One fell. And Zoya's not even sure if it really is because of all the craziness that happened during that final battle. Yuri goes on to tell his tale, saying,
centuries before, this is where the Starless One stood and defied the world. Only he dared to recreate the experiments. Only he demanded more.
Zoya and Nikolai challenge Yuri saying this because they're like, well, he failed and the fold actually became his punishment for attempting to do these things. This was the one place where his powers did not work. This leads to discussion about the natural order. Yuri's like, well, who even created the natural order? Who's even responsible for the making of the heart of the world, which is supposed to be like where all the Grisha power comes from? Zoya thinks that's just how things are. It's just the way the world is. And the fold was the price that a Grisha paid for overstepping his bounds. But Yuri's insistent that the Darkling chose this place for a reason. And Nikolai agrees with Yuri. Nikolai's really starting to believe and buy into all of this stuff going on. He says that there's places all over Ravka that have fallen and been rebuilt, used by old gods and new saints. And people return to them time and time and again to worship there. I think think just even from the start, Zoya's on edge. She had to look at that church. She had to relive all these awful memories there. She had to go into the fold, relive more terrible memories, thinks about everyone that she's lost. And then they're approaching these pilgrims, and Zoya is not happy. She starts asking why the pilgrims even worship the Darkling. And their response isn't what Zoya wants to hear. They say that the Darkling wanted to make Ravka strong and replace all of the weak kings. Zoya responds, well, what is Ravka? Who is Ravka to you? And when he answers, well, Ravka's the people who had to suffer under the rule of bad kings, Zoya loses it. So then Zoya questions them. Did the Darkling love my aunt? Did the Darkling love all of these innocent people that he murdered just to show off his power? Nikolai's trying to calm her, but she goes on to say, did the Darkling love the girl that he forced to commit these murders? What about the girl that he tossed into the old king's bed to use as a pawn and then mutilated her when she challenged him? What about the woman he blinded for not giving him unwavering devotion? She's talking about Alina, Genya, the Darkling's mom, all of these women who the Darkling wronged.
Yes, Zoya, yes.
Who is going to speak for these women if Zoya did not? Who's going to stand up for them, and who is going to speak for her?
I'm getting really hyped up reading this. I'm like, yes. It's like girl power. Let's listen to some spice up your life.
But the pilgrim remains unshaken.
He should be shaken.
Said great men are often victims to the words of their enemies. Said that we're taught to fear the darkness. Zoya thinks that's a lesson he failed to learn. And they keep on having this heated exchange. Well, Zoya's heated. So Nikolai tries dragging her back to the skiff. He's telling the twins, let's just get ready to go. We need to go out farther. He doesn't want any of this unwanted attention. Zoya doesn't care. This is all getting to be too much for her. She does not understand why these people love the Darkling. This is a man who ruined a lot of her life. Nikolai says it's the Darkling's strength that they want, that Ravka's in a scary place right now and they're just looking for some bit of hope to hold on to. Zoya's like, then we have to give them something more. And she's remembering what happened at the spinning wheel. She's remembering what happened on that final day at the fold. She's telling Nikolai, you don't remember how bad it was. You weren't yourself then. I had to witness all of this and see all of the horrors go on. But Nikolai says that he remembers enough and he promises not to forget. Zoya's still trying to calm down. Nikolai says he needs his general right now, but she cannot shake these memories. And then she thinks of Liliana. Nikolai gets back on the skiff, but then they realize that these, young untrained squalors are already off and checking out this creepy glass pool. So it's just Zoya, Yuri, and Nikolai left on the boat. Nikolai wants them to head west, but Zoya cannot take it anymore. She says if they want darkness,
I'll give them darkness.
She lets control of her anger, and so easily a storm starts to rise. She barely even has to use any of her power to control these sand dunes. They're turning into these giant waves and getting higher and higher as she is remembering all of the people that she has lost. And at one point, she even changes the sands into the shape of Liliana's face, even though she knows they won't know who she is. She knows, she remembers. Nikolai's screaming at her to stop, and the pilgrims are just scrambling. They're running in fear, and this is just pumping up Zoya even more. She likes their fear. Finally, the sand dunes are rising. They block out the sun. And I'm thinking these stupid pilgrims are gonna be like, was a sign from the Darkling plummeting us into darkness, or they're gonna think that the Darkling used Zoya to, block out the sun as his instrument.
An unholy vessel of some sorts. I guess to them it'd be holy, because he's holy to them, whatever.
And when Zoya does stop this storm, she's instantly dizzy and nauseous. She thinks it's from using so much of her power, but then she sees that Nikolai's eyes are rolling back in his head, causes some concern. Yuri's puking over the side of the railing, which is no concern. And then they realize the pilgrim camp is gone. What? So the pilgrim camp is gone, the twins are gone, Blackstone is gone, the dark sky is gone, and it's just this pretty blue, twilighty sky. Zoya's panicking. I'm panicking. She thinks that she did this somehow, and she's like, I swear I only just made the storm. Nikolai says, am I having an episode, or are you guys seeing this too? She sensed my panic, had to come over and check on me. So they see this creepy palace, And I'm thinking, oh God, did the Darkling make all of these miracles happen? Like as his attempt to come back to power? Is this castle his castle, like his consciousness castle? And it's less a palace than a city. It's massive. It's so high up that clouds are just rolling around like the tall towers. We see that this gigantic castle is the same color as the sand of the fold. It's a dead sand palace. A shriek goes off in the distance, and immediately Zoya's like, it's the Volcra. Yuri falls to his knees. He's like,
It's a miracle! It's a miracle!
so I'm guessing he knows where they are, even though Nikolai and Zoya don't. This isn't a miracle. It's a trap. They hear another shriek, look and see these gigantic shapes coming their way at a very fast speed. I am stressed. I know these are our main characters. I don't think anyone's gonna die, but I am concerned. I am very concerned. I don't want anyone to hurt or suffer. These are my little precious BBs. I worry for them. I care for them. So, yet again, is this like the consciousness palace here? Is it the Darkling that was making all of these freaking miracles happen in the first place? I don't want Yuri to be right. Like, I feel like he's a little like, oh, like I don't like him that much. I don't want everything he says to be right. Like, I want Nikolai to like not be skewered or burn alive or anything. So I hope that part's, wrong, but... And that was chapter 14 with our dear Zoya, who is now in danger. And that actually brings us to the middle of the book. It brings us to the next section of the book, which is called The Witch in the Wood. Yet again with these spooky woods of Ravka. I wanted to be the Darkling's mom. I hope she's the witch in the wood because I love her and I'm sad and I always enjoyed her character. I wish she was back. But I don't know who the witch in the wood's going to be. The first section was called The Drowning Man, and now we know that the Drowning Man is Nikolai's reference to Ravka. It's a struggling country pulling you under no matter how much you try to save it. So what is the witch in the wood going to be? I love how Leigh Bardugo names these sections, like in the Six of Crows duology. I always liked seeing, what the sections reference. Like, oh, so that's what that means.
It's like, oh, cute, cool, fun.
But this isn't cute or cool or fun right now. I am stressed. So please join me for the next chapter so we can freak out about what is going on together, figure out what's happening, maybe solve a little bit of this puzzle, hope no one gets hurt, dies, or anything. And if you enjoy my panicking, if you're panicked with me, please like the video, subscribe to my channel so we can, go through this together. Comment your panic down below, please. Maybe put like,
Yes!
for Zoya sticking up for all of the women in her life. Maybe just put like, ah, for what's happening now. Hashtag Consciousness Palace. And I will see you guys next time. Have a good one. Oh my God, I should never do that again.